week's episode of The Money Drill, the show that's committed to helping you drill down to the reliable retirement solutions for you. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and I'm joined by Erik Morgan. He is the president of Retirement Financial Group. Erik, my friend, I'm so happy to see you this week. How are you?
So far, so good. It's been a great week. I always love coming out doing the shows and just seeing you and visiting with you over the course of our episodes.
Oh my gosh, we have the best time together. For those of you that don't know, we have a blast behind the scenes, and we try to bring that onto the show as well.
No doubt.
I know that you've actually been getting a lot of messages from folks who've been watching the show. I would love to hear, what is some of the feedback that you're hearing?
You know, they all kind of say the same thing in different ways, but the message is the same. And they said it's so educational. I really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through these things. And so, you know, even for some of my own clients, I mean, they're calling and saying, hey, we've talked about that. You say on TV what you say in the meeting, right? And so, it helps them recall the things that we've had during our meetings. And for the new clients, the new folks who are coming in, they're saying, I haven't heard some of this stuff before. RMDs and the legislative risk and all the types of things. Some of the things we're going to cover today maybe, they haven't heard. And so they really appreciate the educational aspect this brings. And so it's been super encouraging. I really love doing this.
That's awesome. I know you do. And I know we talked a couple weeks ago about the recent rebrand and changing the name to Retirement Financial Group. And you are different by design. I wanted to start off just by talking about that a little bit. What makes you all different? What are some of the things that you're currently doing to be different in this space?
It's a great question. You know, one of the things that we did on the rebrand, you know, our name used to be Retirement National, which was a great name in so many ways. However, we got calls all the time around, are you a retirement center? Do you place folks into retirement communities? And so we wanted to change the strategy and say, we are focused on retirement. That's what we do. That's our bread and butter. Financial Group. So Retirement Financial Group. And then not only that, we've really, with this rebrand, we've really wanted to start differentiating ourselves from other financial service firms. And what I mean by that is helping people see that we care. And like really implementing things that will show that and highlight that, it's not about the money for us. I mean, yeah, we like to make money as financial advisors. However, we really want to start giving back to our community and start giving back to our clients. You know, we're looking and evaluating options like becoming a B Corp, which a B Corp is a benefit corporation where you set aside a certain amount and you can kind of pledge like this amount of funds every year will be designated to improving the community in which we live in, or improving some social stance, or whatever that case may be, but really giving back to the place in which we live. In addition to that, we're looking at things, Kristin, like starting a nonprofit for clients that are battling disease, right? I mean, so many clients. Personal story, you know, my mom died of cancer and in the hospital at 6 months at a time, and I have clients with cancer to ALS to everything in between. And so, not that they can't afford certain treatments, however, there's a cost that comes that insurance doesn't cover, right? And that those things can erode away a retirement account so quickly.
And unexpectedly,
Unexpectedly, you can't plan for those things. You don't think about those things. So we're trying to work with the SEC compliance group to ensure that everything we're doing is compliant. But we really want to have a spot for our clients to know that you help us by being a client. And we want to help you, not just with your financial picture, but we see you, we hear you, we know that struggle. Even if it's $1,000 or $500, a means to help them along the way to ensure that they know that we're walking that road with them in those moments of trial.
I just love to see how you're continuing to grow and flourish, and I know that you are such a good steward of all the ways that you and Retirement Financial Group have been blessed, and being able to give back to the community is just amazing. So.
It is a gift from God for sure.
Yes, no doubt. Absolutely. Well, I know you've put together another great show for our viewers at home today. We're going to be talking all about legislative risk, also sometimes referred to as political risk, and all the implications, and most importantly, what that means for you in your retirement. So I know, Erik, you shared something powerful with me when we were prepping the show together about how a lot of folks really do get wrapped around the axle, and I think it's kind of ramping up again since next year's an election year.
No doubt.
So share with the viewers what you shared with me, and then I'll tell you what I said.
Yeah, you bet. So, you know, no matter what political affiliation you are, whether you're Republican or Democrat, during those times, part of their jobs are to change the laws. And, you know, whenever they say, well, it's the law, well, a law really is evergreen. I mean, all it takes is another another political party to come in to take the helm, and that law could be overturned, it could be changed, it could look different. And I'll just take one of them, for example, it's the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. It goes through 2025.
Right.
Well, the law states that the tax rates are going to change in 2026 if Congress does nothing. So the point is, laws change, things change. So it doesn't matter which affiliation you are, there's going to be legislative risk every administration, right? Because ultimately, they're trying to, both parties are trying to make a wave in one form or another. Whether you believe it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. But they're trying to make wave, and they're changing rules every year, every other year to try to ensure that those things happen.
Well, and you and I were just sharing that it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. I think a lot of times, I've seen studies where people, based on who they think is going to win the election, they think certain things are going to happen, but then the opposite happens. And so what do I always say? Here's the reality. Money is neither red or blue. It's green. Just like the color of this jacket. Look, it's green right here, right?
And can I have some of that?
Actually? I know, right? Me too. So, I wish it was real.
I do. So, and really, it doesn't matter. I mean, in the sense of both parties, they love money, right? And and everyone loves money. Everyone understands money. It is a universal motivator, right?
Driver.
And so they're trying, at both parties, they always try to, and I'm not singling out either one, but they're both trying to drive toward an agenda.
Yes. And
generally it involves around money, right? At the crux of the matter. Absolutely. And so with that, we see these changes coming out, and they've, in the most recent legislative risk is a $35 million student loan forgiveness plan, or 39.
Whatever.
Just a lot of money.
Too much.
Billion. I'm sorry, I said million. Billion. And there has to be things that come along that has to pay for that. Right. Yep. Money is not free. And so means folks like our viewers, yourself, myself, we're paying for that in one form or another.
Right.
RMDs, I think about that's kind of one of the things that changed this year with the Secure Act. RMDs came up. Yep. They shifted them from 72 to 73. Used to it was 70 and a half. And then 72, and now 73.
Right. Yep.
And so those things change, and how you take them as a beneficiary changed. And so laws change all the time, and you just have to be prepared for it.
Absolutely.
It's a known unknown.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
It's not, you don't know the risk that's going to happen. You don't know exactly what's going to change, but you know it's going to change.
Right.
And so you have to be prepared for that. You have to ensure that we're looking at all the things to ensure that fits into your financial plan. Right. And there's a lot of advantages to legislative risk. I mean, I think about the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. It gave us the lowest tax brackets, lowest tax rates in the wider brackets that we've seen in 40 plus years. That we're still able to use that to our advantage in our planning this year and the years to come, a couple years to come, that benefit folks in this stage of life, right? Whether it's you're 30 years old or you're 60 years old. Yep. There's benefits to that legislative risk, to that law that we can take, we can implement for the better, for the plan. And if you're wondering out there, how does this work for you? I mean, are you contributing to your IRA? Are there Roth IRAs? How do you really manage the RMDs for yourself? Which we're going to do another show about that, right? There's so much out there. But if you're wondering, am I planning enough? How do these laws affect me? Has your advisor talked to you about the RMDs and those new rules? If you don't know, or if you want to get a second opinion, we would love for you to come in and see our office. We have an office in Beaumont, one in Nederland, right behind the schooner. The staff is great. They love people. They love to help people. So come in, see us. We'll sit down with you. We'll walk you through. That first meeting is like a fact finding. We'll get to know you. And then that second meeting, we'll present this proposal with all of these elements in there to ensure that you have a robust and reliable financial plan that accounts for things like the Secure Act 2.0. And so if that's you and you want to call the number, come in and see us, sit down with us.
Wonderful. Erik, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but this is an excellent opportunity for you to set up your complimentary meeting with Erik and the team at Retirement Financial Group. All you need to do is call that number on the bottom of your screen, 866-688-2591. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. Simply scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team will reach out to you and schedule your complimentary meeting that way as well. When we we come back, we're going to continue this important discussion of legislative risk, political risk, specifically with the changes of the recent SECURE 2.0 Act and how that affects you and your taxes. Stay with us.
I'm an engineer by degree, and so I was working for ExxonMobil coming out of college, and then went to Motiva or Shell after ExxonMobil. I spent a few years there, and I ended up working just a ton of hours. Loved my job, loved the people. I love what I did, but two things were kind of the catalyst that kind of pushed me on. One was, I had 2 kids at the time, and I would go to work at 5 a.m. I would get home 5 to 6 p.m. They were young, so they were going to bed early, and so there was very limited time I would get to see them in the evenings. And 2 days a week, due to our church activities, I didn't get to spend any quality time with them at all. That, coupled with my mom passing away at a young age of 52, just weeks after my dad retired, those two things coupled together, the lack of time with my own children that I was seeing as a progression, and then my mom passing away, said, it's time for a change. I don't want to do this anymore. Honestly, early on, I thought I was crazy. I was like, why did I leave that great job to start all over again? And I just realized that I didn't want to spend my whole life working behind the refinery gates. I'd rather take the skills that the Lord had given me to go help people like my mom and dad maybe retire sooner so they could spend more time together.
Welcome back, Southeast Texas. You're watching The Money Drill. I'm Kristin Oakley here with Eric Morgan, president of Retirement Financial Group, and we are talking today all about legislative risk, what it means for you and your retirement. And Eric, we did start the show by talking a little bit about what makes you all different and the fact that you are different by design. And one of the things that does make you different is that you engage in strategic tax planning. And that's
right.
A really important distinction, because a lot of us are familiar with doing our taxes every year. And of course, that's about the present. Engaging in strategic tax planning is planning for your future and making sure that you don't have to pay any more to the IRS than you are required to pay. And so I wanted to shift the discussion a little bit, because we mentioned the SECURE 2.0 Act and what that means for folks. What does it mean specifically for our viewers as it relates to taxes?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that so often, whenever we hear the word taxes, we either we get afraid and we cringe, right? Or we just say, well, it's something I have to pay.
Right.
Or and we just trust that whoever's filling out that tax, that 1040 easy file is going to do everything in our best interest and do it right. But there's a big difference between a tax planner and a tax preparer and a tax planner.
Yes.
You can go down to H&R Block and they can file your taxes for you. You can use TurboTax, and they're great software.
Well, we all have to do it,
We all
right?
have to do that, right? They're great software.
Yes.
But when it comes, and I think a lot of people don't think about tax planning because they assume that's for the ultra wealthy. I don't really need to plan for taxes. That's for the people who have lots of money. But
that's a common misconception.
That's a common misconception, But I think about middle class, hardworking workers that, like my parents. There's so many things that need to go into. Now my dad and now my in-laws, their tax plan as it relates to legacy planning, as it relates to, more efficient or tax efficient distributions, and I think the key is, one of the things that I learned working at ExxonMobil and Shell. So, they do not mind throwing you into the fire, right? It's like, it's trial by fire. And so you get assigned this project or this job, and you're expected to go give this presentation to refinery leadership or to upper level leaders who have years of experience more than you do, that could probably do your job blindfolded, and they're going to ask you all these questions, right? And you're expected to know the answer, right? To be a strategic thinker, to think outside the box. And I think so many times financial advisors kind of get pigeonholed into only looking at the asset allocation, right, for their clients. And they're not talking to them, they're not thinking through how taxes affect that distribution, how taxes are going to affect what they currently have, what they can leave to their family. And so I think being a strategic thinker, like I'm not an accountant, Clark is not an accountant. However, we partner with Troy Domain, and we partner with Bob Bynum, and those guys are sharp men, right? They're Troy's with Roth and DeShung and Junker, Bob is with 𝗀𝗏 Turner Weibel, both big CPA firms, both super sharp. And so we partner with them, and we'll partner with other people's CPAs as well. But and we come to them with this idea, these plans that other advisors probably are not doing. I'm not going to say no advisors doing, but if the big box retail advisors, they're not doing that. There's liability in it.
Right. Well, they're not allowed to.
They're not allowed
a lot
to.
of times, right? That's the other issue.
Correct. Their broker dealer is saying, no, your job is to be a financial advisor as it relates to the assets on the page.
Right.
And that's all you think about. That's all you advise on. Being a fiduciary advisor and independent, we have a lot more flexibility with that. We're still within the confines of the SEC and FINRA regulations, right? But we go out and we find these experts, whether it's those accountants or your own personal accountant or it's the attorneys, and how their input plays into your plan. Because it's so important to think about, taxes that you can pay in a more efficient manner. You should do that today versus postponing it. So, for example, if I have $1 million and it grows at 4% rate of return, or we'll call it 6% rate of return, it's going to double in 12 years, right? Money doubles every 12 years at a 6% rate.
Right.
And so $1 million becomes $2 million. Okay, so would you rather pay tax on $2 million on a qualified account? That means qualified for future taxation.
Qualified to pay taxes in the future.
Right. Yep. So if it's all qualified, would you rather pay tax on $2 million? Or if you could be strategic and start paying the tax on the $1 million today and still allow that tax-free growth?
Right.
I think that's really, really important.
Yes, for sure. Well, gosh, I mean, and what you're speaking to is really the value of engaging in comprehensive, holistic financial planning. You all have heard me say this before. I know you've heard me say it a lot. But how you make a decision in one area of your financial life does and will affect all of the others. And being able to work with the CPAs, get a solid plan in place to help folks really engage in that strategic tax planning, that's invaluable. Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely it is. And think about, there was a professor I had, a statistics professor at Lamar, engineering stats. And so we went through this class, and I gave a presentation one night at the Schooner. This was now that I'm in financial planning. He attended, super, super sharp professor. And so I kind of gave this idea of this Roth conversion. And he walked up to me after the seminar and goes, I think I have to disagree with you. I said, why is that? And so he said, because you're having less money grow at a 6% rate. If you do the conversion, if you use that money, the distribution, to pay the tax out of the distribution, you're having less money grow year on year than if you were to leave it and let it grow. So we did a quick example, and I showed to him, if all variables are exactly the same in a 10-year period, if I converted $100 to Roth today, or I left the $100 in and let it grow in a qualified account, in 10 years, I would have exactly the same amount of money.
Interesting.
Now, the key is all variables are the same, which, let me ask you this question. Do you think, kind of going back to the legislative risk, do you think taxes are going to remain the same?
Do I wish, or do I think?
Exactly.
Right, that's the question.
There's no way they're going to remain the same.
No.
Somebody has to pay for the debt.
Right.
I think our national debt's around $31.4 trillion. They recently raised the debt ceiling in the summer. So those things come with a price.
They do.
And again, it doesn't matter which affiliation you're on, that tax rate's going to raise. Lawrence Kotlikoff said, whenever you lower taxes in one generation, you simultaneously raise them in the future generations.
Yes.
So they're lower today. That means they're going to be higher in the future. And so because that variable changes, the Roth conversion is a much, much more efficient, more wise plan than leaving it in there, letting it ride.
Right, absolutely. And there's so much that goes into that, and it's really an individualized situation of when is the best time, how much to convert. I mean, all of that comes into play. Yeah,
and not only, you have that to play, and then you think about, well, my income also affects my Medicare premiums. When I do the Roth conversions, should I do them this year? How much should I do this year? Should I do next year? Are we doing the HSA rollovers, the one-time rollover that you can do with the HSA? There's so many things that kind of come into play from an overall tax planning perspective that your advisor needs to be engaged in talking to you about. I mean, this is a big deal. If you have any desire, again, to legacy plan, the time is not at your passing to deal with that. The time is now, right? You plan now. And so if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I want to give more to my kids, or I want to ensure that my spouse has more to live on, or I want to leave a legacy for the grandkids, or I've never heard about this Roth conversion, or the effects with RMDs, that I can reduce RMDs if I allow my money to be converted, whatever the case may be, if this is new information, if you're wondering how this could be applied to you, call us, come in and see us. We would love to sit down with you, walk you through our planning process. We'll talk to Troy, talk to Bob, talk to whoever your CPA is to ensure they're on the same page. I have yet to have a CPA disagree with me on the strategy. So we'll sit down with them, ensure we're all on the same page, and ensure that that is the best fit for you. Call us and just come in for our complimentary consultation.
Wonderful. Eric, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but that number to call is on the bottom of your screen, 866-688-2591, or you're also welcome to scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. More with Eric on the subject of taxes and what that means for you in retirement right after this.
Our team, both at the Nederland and Beaumont locations, are all top-notch. They love people. That was one of the main criteria that we wanted. We wanted someone that loves people and that would engage with the people well, our clients well, and make sure the clients know that they are cared for the moment they walk in the office, the moment they leave. I've actually asked my wife a few times, like, remind me again exactly why I got into a career field where people's livelihood depended on me. But then I remember, I think about my dad. I think about, you know, the many couples, the many clients that we have where there's a real relationship now where they call me and we talk, we're friends, and you know we fellowship together, and the change that I've seen in them for the good and for myself as well.
Welcome back to the Money Drill. It's Kristin Oakley here with Eric Morgan, president of Retirement Financial Group. And before the break, we were talking a lot about Roth conversions, which I know is a strategy that you employ for a lot of clients. I was wondering if you would be willing to use me as a case study.
Absolutely.
Would you be open to that?
Let's shoot. Go ahead.
Okay. So I want you to pretend that I'm your client.
Okay.
All right. And here's the situation. I am currently 44 years old. I have a chunk of money that was rolled over from a previous 401k into a traditional IRA.
Okay.
And I also have a Roth IRA. But I would say there's easily 4 times more money in the traditional IRA right now than the Roth IRA.
Okay.
And so knowing that taxes are on sale, knowing that we have this short window before they sunset in 2025, of course I know you have to ask me a lot of questions and look at all the pieces of the puzzle.
For sure.
But what would your recommendation be? Does it make sense for someone of my age, my situation, to even be doing Roth conversions now?
I think it's a great question. And I think that answer is it depends, you know. I think one of the things that you have to really ensure that you understand on those things are whenever you do the Roth conversion, you have an option. You can say, I will pay the tax on the conversion. So for example, just say it's $100,000.
Okay.
So you're converting $100,000, say that the tax rate's 20%, so $80,000 goes into the Roth.
Right.
The 20% goes to the government.
Right.
Well, if that 20% goes to the government, that is now considered a distribution if you're below 59.5. And that distribution is penalized at 10%. And so if you have the money and the cash sitting, you know, in a non-qualified, that means it's after-tax account, so think checking account, think savings account, that you can pay your tax bill at the end of the year, then do the full 100 or only do 80, and then pay the tax out of the after-tax savings. That way that distribution is not going to the IRS on your behalf.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So if you're in a position to do that, Kristin, 100% no-brainer, and it depends on your current income, right? So I would say, you know, I'll just pick someone that's making $150,000 today. They make $150,000 today, they're taxed at 22%. If the tax code reverts back to the 2017 tax rates, which by law it says that's what's going to happen.
Right.
Okay, and starting January 1st of 2026, that 150 will be taxed at around 25%. So there's a 3% tax difference.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
So I'm pretty comfortable pushing people to the top of the 24% tax bracket because they can make well into the 300s and still be in the 24%.
Right.
So as long as you're not exceeding the 24% tax bracket, it makes a lot of sense for you to go and convert as long as you can pay the tax on it from outside accounts if you're below the age of 59.5.
Right.
There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
You know, and I really think what people should consider is if their plan allows for 401k contributions to go into a Roth.
Right, because that's an option that a lot of folks have now that wasn't there previously, is you can either go into a traditional 401k or a Roth 401k, and trying to decide how to invest and how to contribute. That's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Huge piece. And what you could do is do the Roth 401k, and certain plans also allow. So the Roth 401ks for someone below the age of 59.5 or below the age of 50 allows you the rules around 20,500, I believe, max contribution. Well, you can also, if you say, well, I make enough and I want to keep saving, right? I want to keep putting into the 401k. You can actually go all the way up to roughly $60,000. I'm not looking at the numbers in front of me, but roughly $60,000 into an after-tax account within the 401. And so we do this for a lot of clients. So every year we tell them to overfund their 401k.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, December, we call the 401k supplier or the provider. Now, every plan's different. So Exxon's different than Chevron, different than Shell or Motiva. So we call the 401k provider. We say, hey, we have after-tax dollars. We want to take those after-tax and want to convert those to a Roth. It's called a backdoor Roth conversion. So you can take that after-tax dollars and roll them outside of your plan into a Roth IRA, and if there's any gain on that after-tax dollars in those 12 months period, that'll be converted to a qualified plan.
Wow.
But there's so many ways and so many things that you can do. But to answer your question, if you can pay the tax bill outside of the distribution from the 401k to convert, hands down, no-brainer.
Yep. Gonna have to look into that.
Absolutely, and I think that's where so many times, our business has been retirement, right? So our primary clientele's 50 plus.
Right.
Right, but we've been taking on some clients that are in their 35s, early 40s, and mid to late 40s. And so what we're trying to do with them now is say, hey, think about being diversified across sources. So really shove as much as you can to the Roth, and then outside of that, go into the after-tax. And then if you need that tax break, I mean, let's do the math to see what that value is really giving you today.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And is it worth doing that, or going and doing the Roth inside the 401k, and really just planning ahead. Having different sources, different buckets to pull from, I think is super important.
Absolutely.
And if that's you, if you're still working and you're kind of wondering, how does this affect me? How, am I doing what's right inside my 401k from an allocation perspective, from a sourcing point of view? Call us. We'd love to sit down with you, have this conversation, and see if this is the Roth conversion is best for you.
Wonderful. Eric, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, thank you so much for watching. We enjoy having you with us, and we look forward to being back with you next week. We love you, Southeast Texas. We'll see you next time.